Hey, it's another Ask Anything mailbag. You've got the questions, we've got the answers. Let's make it happen. Dolphins taking on the Cowboys in Week 16 NFL action. And here are the pressing questions that are on your minds. Leading up to it, we start with the one and only Chad Jones. Who? Chad Jones. Who? Chad Jones. All right. Great question here. Dolphins, where's our O-line at for this game? And will X be playing? X referring to Xavien Howard. He sat out the last game against the Jets. I will tell you this, he did not practice on Wednesday, but that's not uncommon as a veteran. Sometimes, especially coming back from injury after a game that you already missed, you'll take a couple extra days. And based on the severity of the injury, it's still unknown whether or not he'll be able to give it a go dealing with the rib injury against the Dallas Cowboys. And obviously, they could certainly use the help on defense, with Dallas being the second-ranked scoring offense in the NFL behind none other than the Miami Dolphins. But if X does not go, that means Jalen Ramsey, Kader Kohou, and the rest of that Dolphins secondary will be tasked with shutting down a good Cowboys team. Eli Apple actually played pretty well in the game against the Jets. You've also got Ethan Bonner, who made his Dolphins debut. Cam Smith, the second-round pick out of South Carolina, tweaked a hamstring and is still up in the air, but he hasn't really played a lot on defense. We've only seen him on special teams, whereas Ethan Bonner actually played albeit in mop-up time, but he might even be the guy that gets the nod over Cam Smith, even if Cam Smith's healthy. But regardless, obviously, Xavien Howard and Jalen Ramsey are the best two options there. As for the O-line, they're banged up, and that's been the story all season long. Liam Eichenberg was able to give it a go last week against the Jets. You've got Rob Hunt working through some things on the hamstring side of things. Austin Jackson battling some bumps and bruises. Isaiah Wynn remains on IR, and Robert Jones played against the Jets. Terron Armstead also in the lineup. So the way I see it with the offensive line is it's the musical chairs. It has been all season, but they've still been able to get the production. I think a lot of that has to do with the play calling ability of Mike McDaniel. But I will tell you this, majority of the offensive line did not practice on Wednesday leading up to Cowboys and Dolphins. Sherry May, what a great question we have here. I believe our defense is going to rattle Prescott's cage early and often. Isn't that our strength in this matchup? I agree. Now, I think any defensive line that can account for pressure on 10% or sacks on 10% of dropbacks like the Dolphins have, it's the second best in the NFL, only to the Chiefs, combined with the ability to pressure and hurry the quarterback, that makes any quarterback's life miserable. I don't care if it's Tom Brady, a Joe Montana, or Zach Wilson. If the quarterback can't throw, that's the best way to stop a dynamic quarterback. And Dak has been turnover prone in the past. He's having arguably the best year of his career. But that said, I've got my money on guys like Bradley Chubb, Andrew Van Ginkel, even Emmanuel Ogbah as edge rushers. And then on the interior, we know how good Zach Zeeler and Christian Wilkins have been. If they can continue to get home and wrestle and, like Sherry May put it, rattle the cage of Dak Prescott, I think that bodes well for the Miami Dolphins. Harry Thomas checking in. Thanks for the question, Harry. Dolphins, do you think the Dolphins can dominate in the run game against Dallas like the Bills did? Yes. Now, Dallas's defense fifth in scoring, but a little bit lower in stopping the run. They give up right around 122 yards per game on average. It's about 19th, give or take, in the NFL. So certainly not the worst, certainly not the best. But given the production the Dolphins have had on the ground, the NFL's top rushing attack, when you've got weapons like Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, and now throw Chris Brooks back into the mix, along with Jeff Wilson Jr., obviously with Mostert and Achane doing the majority of the damage, they can cause a world of hurt for just about any defense. We saw that against the Jets, who have a decent defense, but I feel confident about the Dolphins' run game and what they'd be able to do as far as the production level against, yes, a good Cowboys defense, but at home, The way the offense has been ticking, the way that Mike McDaniel's creatively found ways to run the ball with weapons like Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, I feel good about this rushing offense. But you tell me, let's predict it. Let's put our prediction hat on. How many rushing yards for the Dolphins against the Cowboys? Remember, on average, the Cowboys give up right around 125, give or take, for the season in their average. Let me know in the comments. Get your prediction hat on. I'll say they put up 160. How about that? Because I'm feeling pretty confident in the Dolphins' run game. Who gets more rushing yards against the Cowboys, Mostert or Achane? Very good question, Robert Fritz, because Achane has battled injuries, and he burst onto the scene as a rookie phenom, and a lot of people felt like he was going to maybe even earn Rookie of the Year before he got hurt. But since the injury, and I'm being a little bit overly critical, but I really haven't seen that explosive nature yet. But he's that type of player who one carry, just a little glimpse, a little window, he can go the distance. And because of that game-changing speed and dynamic ability he has, I'll say Devon Achane, especially with teams now keying in on Raheem Mostert, although that hasn't stopped them in weeks past. Mostert leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns and total touchdowns as well. He also set a new Dolphins franchise record with 18 rushing touchdowns. That said, they are both a dynamic duo, and I think they'll both be on full display against the Cowboys and called upon for all kinds of work and hopefully help lead the Dolphins to a victory. And speaking of victories, it's so fun to win with PrizePicks. Today's presenting sponsor, prizepicks.com/CLNS is where you need to go for all the exciting daily fantasy options. Far and away, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports and the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform. So you know it's the best. They're doing things the competition isn't, like the 12 Days of Picksmas. The 12 Days of Picksmas is a new promo each day leading up to Christmas. So you got to sign into your app each day leading up to Christmas to see what is new. There's tons out there like the Demons and Goblins promotion from PrizePicks, which allows you to make it easier or harder to win. And the Goblins make it a little bit easier, whereas the Demons, just like the name suggests, they're a little wild. Statistically harder to win, but the entry can qualify you for higher payouts up to 100 times. It's incredible stuff. And did you know PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy? So if your player gets injured, not to worry. That one is automatically rebooted if it's in the first half. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy platform that has an insurance policy. Awesome stuff. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Don't waste any more time. Get there now. We'll put that link right in the description of today's video so you can just click it and be there because we love you and we care about you. It's PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Howard Huey has a great question here. Will Holland be back for Sunday's game? I wish I had the crystal ball and could just look right in and tell you yes. However, that's not the case. What the latest update from Mike McDaniel himself is that he is trending in the right direction. Of course, Holland has missed the last two games for the Dolphins and has been one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the NFL when he's been out there. He had the 99-yard interception return against the Jets, but he's missed the last two games. And what's interesting to note here is Holland did participate in a limited capacity in practice on Wednesday. So certainly that would suggest that he's at least eyeing that comeback to the field. And as each day progresses, we'll continue to evaluate that and what it entails for Sunday's game. But no definite yet. But if I were a betting man, this is just Jake Riepma talking, there's no report out there. But based on what Mike McDaniel said, combined with the fact that he did practice on Wednesday in a limited capacity, I would hope that Javon Holland is able to play on Sunday against the Cowboys. Another question from Chad Jones. Ndamukong Suh might try to come back, but do you believe his attitude is not good for the team? That's a great question because Ndamukong Suh is a longtime veteran in this league. We all know that. Former second overall pick out of Nebraska by the Detroit Lions. He had a productive tenure in Detroit, albeit with some controversy. The Thanksgiving Day against the Packers where he stomped on a Packers helmet in the bottom of a pile. He's done some what many would deem dirty plays on the field. He's had, kind of that attitude of that doesn't really resonate with a lot of people. But that said, he still has shown the ability to be an impactful player with that tremendous second overall talent that would deem him as one of the better defensive linemen over the long-standing career that he's had. However, like some other players, you just have to ask yourself, is the risk worth the reward? The risk is he comes in with a bad attitude. He's a locker room cancer. The reward, he can help you on the interior of the defensive line, which is kind of a position group. You can never have too many guys at that spot because of the depth that's required to have an effective defensive line. That said, Zach Sieler and Christian Wilkins, they've been exceptional. Two of the best defensive line combinations in all the National Football League. So to kind of back Chad's point up here, I don't know if it's necessarily worth it, the risk that comes with everything associated with Ndamukong Suh. So don't take this as a cop-out. It's truly what I feel. I think Chris Grier and that front office, since they worked him out and at least entertained him, their thought is at least circulating and they're processing and evaluating whether or not it would be worth it. So we'll have to wait and see what Chris Grier and the front office decide to do. From Christine Wilkerson, Dolphins, can Tyreek Hill still win MVP? I asked myself this exact same question earlier in the week because if he is going to get to 2,000 yards, which was his goal, he'll have to do it in 16 games. But you could also argue that that levels the playing field a little bit because when Calvin Johnson, as a member of the Detroit Lions, set the single season receiving yard mark, it was at a 16-game season. And so it's kind of an apples-to-apples comparison, which you could make the case begs even more of a reason that Tyreek Hill should earn MVP if he gets to that 2,000 yard because he broke the record in the same amount of games as Calvin Johnson. Again, this is all hypothetical speak here, and I don't even think it's as simple as, hey, he gets to 2,000 yards, he's the league's MVP. But Kurt Warner, NFL Hall of Famer, former quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Rams, said Tyreek Hill is his MVP, and when a prominent figure and a talking head in the NFL comes out and says that, I don't think it hurts your campaign for MVP. So selfishly, I want Tyreek Hill to win the MVP. I think he can do it. But what say you? Let me know in the comments. Who do you think wins NFL MVP this year? Brock Purdy has great odds. Dak Prescott has good odds. Patrick Mahomes is on that list. Even Josh Allen's on that list. Tua Tagovailoa and, of course, Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill are probably, and Lamar Jackson. How could I forget him? Those are probably the list of candidates that will be on the ballot. Great White Willie Shark. What's happening, man? Will Chris Brooks be used as a power back? That's exactly what I'm hoping for, Great White Willie Shark. I want to see Chris Brooks be utilized in the short yardage game because he runs angry. In fact, before he got injured, one of his runs was featured on Good Morning Football's Angry Run of the Day. And you see the stats there, 15 carries, 94 yards, no touchdowns yet. So obviously a very, very small sample size in just 3 games with 15 carries. But the preseason, Chris Brooks looked really good, undrafted free agent out of BYU. I think he can be used as a power back, and that's what I hope to see from the Dolphins and Chris Brooks. This from Dolphin. Tua is a top 5 quarterback, right? Absolutely. Short answer, yes, yes, and yes, because you got the guy leading the NFL in passing yards. You've got the guy leading the number 1 scoring offense. And albeit he did have a rough stretch there in the middle of the season, he's gone his last 3 games without throwing an interception. And he's 19-5 in his career as a starter at Hard Rock Stadium, which is really impressive. 24-10 in the last 34 starts for Tua Tagovailoa. And that's just wins, losses, but you can make the case that's the most important statistic, the only one that really matters. And you look at that throw he had against the Jets to Jalen Waddle. That ball, so one of the knocks on Tua is the arm strength or how far the ball will travel in his throws. But go back and watch the film on that one. Play action, sets his feet, and just shows off the cannon with the arm strength. Give me Tua Tagovailoa, number 1 on the field and number 1 in our hearts. He's a top 5 quarterback. When Dolphins fans news happens, we have you covered. That's why you subscribe. Going to need each and every one of you to subscribe to the channel as we continue to grow on Dolphins Today. It's been so fun watching this channel grow in 2023. The Dolphins having their best season in several years. In fact, multiple decades. The last time they were 10-4, 2000. So how about that, sports fans? 23 years, and it's a testament to each and every one of you that have subscribed to the channel. That's why the Dolphins are having success. But in all seriousness, we appreciate your subscription. And if you like what you see, we're bringing you Dolphins videos every single day, as well as live watch shows and, of course, live watch party. So don't miss a moment. Subscribe, set your notifications, and join us each and every day on Dolphins Today.